On a chilly autumn afternoon, the bustle inside Harrington's General Market echoed the sound of shopping carts, footsteps, and casual chatter. The store, known in the community for its affordability, had a reputation for being busy, especially in the evenings. Mrs. Eloise Carter, a 72-year-old retired schoolteacher, walked slowly through the aisles with a cane. Dressed in a long beige coat and knitted hat, she moved carefully, selecting a few items for dinner. Her presence was familiar to many. She had been shopping at this store for nearly 2 decades. Eloise had always been soft-spoken and respectful, often greeting workers with her characteristic warm smile. That afternoon, however, an unexpected tension broke the rhythm of the store. Behind the register, the manager on duty, a woman named Brenda, stood rigidly as a line of customers began to build. Brenda, a white woman in her mid-30s, was notorious among the employees for her impatience. Though she carried the title of store manager, her temper often got the better of her, and many workers felt uneasy under her supervision. Mrs. Carter approached the counter with her items. She placed them gently, smiling at the young cashier, a nervous teenager who looked like this was only his second week on the job. He fumbled slightly with the scanner, causing Brenda to step in sharply. "Move faster, Jason," she snapped. The boy's hands trembled, and Eloise noticed. She leaned forward kindly and said, "Take your time, son. You're doing just fine." The words, meant to encourage, irritated Brenda further. She interpreted Eloise's tone as undermining her authority. "Mind your business, ma'am," Brenda hissed, her eyes narrowing. Mrs. Carter, taken aback, straightened her shoulders and replied, "I was only trying to help. There's no need to be harsh with the boy." What happened next left the entire store frozen in shock. In a sudden burst of rage, Brenda raised her hand and slapped Mrs. Carter across the face. The sound cracked through the air, louder than the beeping scanners and murmurs of customers. Gasps filled the store, and the teenager at the register dropped the item he was holding. Eloise staggered back, her cane nearly slipping from her hand. She held her cheek, her eyes wide with disbelief. For a moment, silence fell. Then came murmurs from the crowd, anger, outrage, and cries of, "Did she just hit her? And that's assault." One customer pulled out a phone and began recording. Another rushed to support Eloise, placing an arm around her trembling shoulders. Brenda, realizing too late the gravity of what she had done, tried to justify herself. She was disrespectful, she barked, her face flushed, but her words rang hollow. The customers stood united, their eyes blazing with fury. A middle-aged man in line shouted, "You don't lay hands on an elderly woman. You've crossed the line." Within minutes, whispers and shouts turned into a storm. Some customers demanded the police be called, others insisted on corporate intervention. The assistant manager, who had been in the back office, rushed forward, his jaw dropping when he learned what had occurred. The store had become a battlefield of emotions, the pain of Eloise, the arrogance of Brenda, and the rising tide of a community unwilling to stay silent. What Brenda did not know was that Mrs. Carter was far more than just a regular shopper. She was a respected figure in the town, admired for her years of teaching and mentoring generations of young people. Her voice carried weight, and her dignity demanded justice. What happened next would change the power dynamic inside that store forever. The chaos that followed Brenda's assault spiraled rapidly. Within 5 minutes, the police had been called by an outraged customer, while others live-streamed the confrontation online. By the time officers arrived, the video of Brenda slapping Eloise was already circulating on social media, drawing a flood of condemnation. Local residents who recognized Eloise as the retired teacher who had once taught half their families began arriving at the store, anger and disbelief etched on their faces. The officers approached Mrs. Carter gently, asking if she wanted to press charges. She stood tall despite her trembling hands, her dignity unshaken. "Yes," she said firmly. "No one, especially someone in a position of authority, has the right to strike another human being, let alone an elderly woman." The officers nodded, turning their attention to Brenda, who now stood pale and defensive. She muttered excuses, claiming provocation, but the store was filled with witnesses ready to testify. The assistant manager, recognizing the enormity of the situation, immediately contacted corporate headquarters. Within minutes, word spread through the chain of command. The video, now viral, had already reached executives who understood the gravity of the public relations disaster. A call came directly to the store's landline, and the assistant manager answered nervously. The directive was swift and clear. The manager is terminated effective immediately. Remove her from the premises. When the assistant manager relayed the message, Brenda's face twisted in disbelief. "You can't fire me like this. I'm the manager," she cried. But the response was cold and final. "Not anymore. Gather your things and leave." The officers escorted her outside, while customers inside erupted into applause, not for the humiliation of another person, but for the restoration of justice. Meanwhile, Eloise was guided to a chair and offered water. A young woman approached her with tears in her eyes. "Mrs. Carter, you taught me in 4th grade," she said softly. "You told me I could be more than what people expected. I'm so sorry this happened to you." Others came forward, thanking Eloise for her years of service to the community, their words forming a shield of comfort around her. Corporate representatives arrived within the hour. They issued a public apology on behalf of the company, pledging to review their hiring and training processes. They also offered Mrs. Carter compensation, though she made it clear her priority was not money but accountability. "I want assurance," she declared, "that no one else will suffer such humiliation in your stores." Her words carried such weight that the representatives promised a sweeping review across all branches. The incident, though painful, became a turning point. The video continued to circulate, sparking national conversations about respect, racism, and the abuse of power. For Eloise, the experience became a testament to the strength of community solidarity. What could have been a lonely moment of humiliation was transformed into a rallying cry for justice because people refused to stay silent. 5 minutes after the slap, Brenda lost not only her job, but also the illusion of unchecked authority. And 5 minutes after that, Eloise reminded everyone that dignity, once violated, can still rise stronger when truth and justice stand beside it.